Hey, folks, welcome to InTheMoneyStocks.com's intraday analysis video, brought to you by the creators of proprietary price, pattern, and time methodology. Learn the PPT strategies and profit for life. My name is Gareth Soloway. Let's get into the market action here. Today's Thursday, September 4th, 2014. Markets are in slight rally mode, but the key thing about today is that we've actually pulled back significantly off the highs of the day, almost to the lows. Not quite to the lows, but almost to the lows of the day. And again, you can see that the low of the day was put in on the first candle of the day before this big surge up. And please direct your attention to this trend line right here. All right, this upsloping trend line, I talked about it in yesterday's free video, and it hit right here, and we saw a big sell-off. Look at that sell-off off that trend line. And then today, look at this. You hit it multiple times, couldn't break through, and down you go. Now, the markets are bouncing back a little bit as we speak, but this trend line I used to buy puts on the market. I bought SPY and QQQ puts, and I clocked it for about $2,000 in options profits. And again, I actually took my gains right here into the 20 moving average. I didn't even wait for it to come down here, but I was able to make about $2,000 on a very easy trade off of that level. Beautiful trade there. All right, bottom line is markets are bouncing back a little bit. We had the ECB announcement today, which was a cut in interest rates as well as a bond buying program that initially kick-started the markets to the upside. You might say, well, how come, the ECB doing this is helping the U.S. markets? And honestly, what it is the ECB and Draghi, the head of the ECB, said that the European economy is in shambles. We knew that, but him stating it is going to push more money into the U.S. equities, and that's what it did earlier in the day. Then you saw the trend line hit the technical level, the sell-off that came off of that, and ultimately that's where we sit right now, still with a positive on the markets. Now, I think ultimately the weakness in Europe will probably kind of infatuate or kind of get into the U.S. market somewhat, which will actually cause problems down the line. But in the short term, the market wants to go higher. It's trying to go higher. It almost got to my target today. My target was on the S&P 2014, and right now, based on today's high, we hit 2011. So 2011 was the high of the day on the S&P, and on the SPY that was basically 201.58, and again 3 points away from the target that I'm looking for on the S&P 500. All right, now a couple things. The Nasdaq is bouncing back a little stronger than the S&P and the Dow today. Why? Because Apple is bouncing today. Take a look at Apple, guys. Only up 30 cents, but nonetheless, it is up today, and that's giving the market a little bit of a bounce on the Nasdaq. All right, couple other things to note here. Goldman Sachs, take a look at Goldman. It's up 90 cents on the day, but it's off the highs of the day. The reason why this is important is because if you go to your daily chart, you put in a topping tail at a double top pierce. Here's your double top. We can even erase this lower one from a while back, but this is the level I've been looking for. We hit it yesterday, and we pulled back, creating a topping tail yesterday, and today we did a retrace. Guess who shorted? All right. Guess who shorted near the highs of the day and is already in the money with members here at InTheMoneyStocks.com? This guy right here. So again, great trade alert there. We're already almost $1 in the money on this trade. All right. But again, this is a beautiful setup. This is one of those I love, and again, already in the money. Now, I also wanted to bring forth the Netflix chart because Netflix put in a topping tail yesterday, and it also had a pierce of this trend line right here. And this, again, you can see it got a little bit of a retrace and is already starting to head south. So that's an important factor right there, guys, something that we must continue to monitor. And I really do believe that the markets on a lot of these stocks are getting to their major topping points. All right. Now, again, what type of pullback am I expecting? If you go to the SPY daily, I'll show you what I'm really expecting here. Really see this upsloping trend line that we hit off of here. It's now up here. When you have your next pullback, you're going to go there. And by the way, one thing you want to pay attention to on the SPY is, do we get some sort of topping tail today on the SPY as well? Interestingly enough, going into the jobs report tomorrow. So it is something we want to pay attention to, guys, very, very closely and see how it all plays out. But this is, again, definitely on my alert structure. I'm watching very closely. Now, if we go to the SPY, I want to show you a line that if the market breaks it, it's going to have a big breakdown. Nice pullback on the spiders. You can see how weak the spiders are. I mean, you just had a great pop, and it gave it all up on an intraday basis here on an intraday candle. All right, take a look at this trend line. In fact, I can delete this and go even further back. All right, check this out. All right, if you take this trend line and just drag it right up, look at that. So connecting, and I'll zoom in a little. All right, so you have this pivot low right here, an in spirit of touch here, this pivot low, and this pivot low. That's your breakdown line. So essentially, as long as you're trading neutral to positive above that, the markets could float, maybe go up a little, maybe tag my target of 2014 on the SPY, on the S&P 500, I should say. If you break this trend line to the downside, good night for this market in the short term. That's where the next correction should start. And again, when we're talking correction, like the last one, it was like 5%. I'm not necessarily going to go out on a limb and call a 20% correction. I think we stick with 5 percentage points, and then we reevaluate once we get that. But that'll be your next trigger right there. If you break that, you're going to go all the way down. See this downsloping line right here? This would be your target, and this is kind of in line with this area right here. Okay, looking at a couple commodities out there, we have gold. Let's take a look at gold here. All right, gold down on the day. Had a little bit of a minor pop today at the open, and then it has just sold off since then. A lot of people are mystified at this because of what Draghi said and the stimulus that they're introducing. But bottom line is, gold is a risk play. And if the ECB is lowering interest rates and pumping money in, it's like the Federal Reserve doing that too. Inflation is still not an issue. There's still deflationary pressures in Europe. So right now it's just a matter of, is there risk in Europe and in the world, or is there not risk? And the fact is, if the ECB is going to act like the Fed, they're going to take risk out. That brings gold down. All right, now eventually gold longer term, years out, will have a big move up. Short term, I'm bearish on gold and continue to be so. Silver down again today after a small gap up. Same general thought process here. It's also an industrial metal, so the idea that Europe is weak and ugly, that's just going to hurt silver even more. All right, USO, which is oil, excuse me. Oil is down on the day, had a monster move up yesterday. It's giving back some of those gains, but that was a big move yesterday. And you can see that even though here was from yesterday to the highs, this was the close the previous day, this was the high yesterday, and you can see again that we've only retraced about 50%. So oil's actually holding up decently, even though it's pulling back today. It's still actually hanging in there. JP Morgan Chase is doing decently today. It's up a little bit. We talked about Apple. Take a look at Baidu today, BIDU, down about 35 cents, basically flat there. If we look at U.S. Steel, one of the big outperformers today at 40.75, up $1.62. This stock has been a monster, and I've been telling people for the longest time this stock was going to go above 40, even when it was here. All right, people were asking me, do you short it, do you short it, do you short it? And I said, no, don't short it, don't short it. It's going above $40. Now it's above 40, it's actually starting to get my interest. On the short side, mind you. All right, we're obviously not looking to go long. I want to show you this on the weekly chart. Look at this, guys. These pivot lows right here, this is what you're looking at. Okay, right in here. And also, take a look at this. Monthly chart, and I got to erase these lines because it skews it too much. But this is what you're paying attention to on the monthly. A pierce of the 200 moving average. So now I'm not saying it's not going to go a little bit higher, but what I'm saying is that this is getting close to a longer term top on the stock. Twitter, we have to talk about Twitter, guys, because Twitter's a fun one here. This will be the last one I discuss for the day. Big reversal candle yesterday, engulfing candle. That's about as bearish a candle as you can get. This tells me there's a top in play here. Top in play, guys. Be aware of that. This bounce back today is a shorting opportunity. My goal is to see it get to about 51 bucks. Still about 30 cents away. 51, that's where you pull the trigger on a short, in my opinion, on Twitter. Okay? All right, so keep that in your radar, folks. A lot of fun action here. Markets, again, trending near the lows of the day. Potential topping tail on the S&P. This is ahead of the ADP jobs report. Not the ADP, the actual non-farm payrolls jobs report tomorrow. And that's going to be a fun thing to watch tomorrow. All right, looking at a couple other things, the VXX, it's just fun to bring this up. VXX is down on the day, and this is, again, a volatility gauge. I've been very, very patient on being in this VXX, and right now, that's been the smart move as it's come back in. It's funny, just a little while ago, about a week and a half ago, I was long, and we made a little bit of money, and I didn't take a lot of money off the table. I took a small gain, but I said I think it's going to pull back, and sure enough, it has, and that was the right decision. So smart move there as the VXX has sloped down. I actually still think the VXX could get below 27 before all is said and done here. All right, guys, enough said. Come join us here at InTheMoneyStocks.com. Take the 7-day free trial. Get winning trades. All right, another winning trade yesterday, another new trade put out today that's already in the money nicely. I'm going to put out another trade later today, most likely. Come join us here at InTheMoneyStocks.com. Join the Research Center. Make money with us, the pros.